You're not recording. That makes sense.
That's why I tell everybody, like, you gotta watch out for these gorillas. If they touch your penis, they'll steal your magic.
You'll steal your super serum.
Their ultra purity and masculine vitality.
Yeah. So, I guess, yeah, fuck. Okay. You want me to intro it, or do you want to intro it? Okay, I'll intro it.
I don't know if I can bring myself back from silly time. I'm trying.
Okay, so it's it's You Know Who with Aioli, and we're going to do a podcast thing, because I heard you guys like the podcast. So we put a podcast inside your podcast. Ha ha ha, that's an old meme. Great intro. Okay, so really quickly before we talk about what we wanted to talk about, which will be relationship stuff, and then, just whatever the fuck, if we have time after that. I'm going to try to go as fast as possible, but, only got 40 minutes. So very quickly about what you, Aioli, and Ingzig, Patrick, were talking about last week. I do have some notes from 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel, so I'll just quickly, I'll just read them, because we really don't have time to talk about it. But what he said, what Patrick said about Elon Musk and, adding value, which, what the coming up with new shit, that's basically expanding your value proposition. And I think, each thing has its own place. Like, Steve Jobs was definitely someone who was not afraid of innovation, but he did have focus. So there's a difference here. There's a distinction. He took the Apple product line from, I believe, over 150 products to 6. But those 6 products were innovative. They provided as much value as possible, and they were easily navigatable and usable in terms of the user interface. And that is why Apple as a company is declining now, or it will be, because, now you can't even put a fucking iPhone jack in. And, they still have the cult of the Apple, but if you take away features that are very helpful, then obviously it makes some people mad. It makes me mad. I'm not going to buy your product anymore. But I'm ranting. So here are the notes. Just going to read them, and then we can talk about what we wanted to talk about. I'm just reading this, I don't know, because what Patrick said was cool, and it was right, and it was good. So don't disrupt, you add value, and you avoid competition. You actually want to do something that you can have a monopoly on. And Elon Musk is doing that with SpaceX, and then Bezos is trying to do the same, But whoever gets to space first and really corners that it's going to be huge, it's going to be amazing. And Walmart did that, although Dollar General is trying to do that. Dollar General is taking the Walmart model, and they're just going even lower, They're just, going even to cheaper Chinese factories and whatever. Don't want to rant. You will not succeed by copying Facebook or Google. You got to do something completely new and useful. So dominating a niche is better than competing in a saturated market. So engineering, how can we create breakthroughs instead of incremental improvement? You want logarithmic improvement. Timing, is now the right time for your business? Are the assets, are the resources, is the technology there? Can the technology be developed? I mean, obviously you want it to be right at the precipice, so you can develop something innovative and new, and but not so far away that you're fucked. So you got to get the timing right. You got to try to have a monopoly, and you want to start with as big a share of the market as possible. You got to have the right team. You got to have the distribution. You got to have the durability. What is the position of the market in 10 years? You got to have the secret, your unique opportunity that other people don't see, and then of course you do have to have the sales. So that's all I have to say about that. And if you listen to that podcast and then add all that, I know I'm speaking quickly, but you add all that together, that's pretty much the complete picture. And it is really great advice for creating a, new, unique company. So.
And this is all out of Peter Thiel's book?
Yeah, that's from 0 to 1. I did add some commentary, but that's, yeah.
Okay. Is that one going on Fight Failure, or?
No, because all I did was watch like 5 video reviews on it. So that's pretty much all the value, but it's not the same. So it is going in Guto, though. Yeah, there's plenty of books that either I did actually read, it didn't put on Guto, or just reviews from other people, usually several that have been boiled down, cobbled together. Like the Robert Greene. I haven't read any of Robert Greene's books, because although they are tremendously useful for some people, he's just too wordy, you know? And I am very much, the time.
I've noticed that too.
I just don't have time.
No, you can get a ton of value from his books if you just skip all of the anecdotes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're actually helpful, because it goes back into like weird ass aristocracy minutia. Like, who is it? I don't know if he's just fanning his own balls or something, but I don't think anybody gets any value from that. If you could just like trim all of that, really good information in those.
Yeah, I mean, he was a journalist for many years. And I believe he worked for the Washington Post. I'm not sure. So of course that's still in there, and so the storytelling, aspect of it has taken precedent over the. But I mean, the information that is useful is very useful, and so in Guto it'll be provided to you. Like even with the 48 laws of power, I didn't even copy all 48, because some of them I thought actually weren't that useful, or they were just mediocre, and so it's really more like the 35 laws of power. But wow, we're getting off track. So I'll quickly say that for the meme value of it, I do have a Rothschild Illusion cigar with me. So this is a Rothschild cigar.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know. Oh no, the Melon's gonna smoke his Rothschild cigar. And yeah, hopefully, I'm already wired enough, so hopefully I don't have a heart attack. But there you go, bro. Yeah. So we're gonna talk relationships. So just start it off.
The specific question is, how do you find people that you're ideologically compatible with IRL, so you can have long-lasting, fruitful relationships, and also hopefully not get mobbed by Antifa at your meetup like the Rouge crowd did?
Yeah, I actually went to that, by the way, and there were, even here, many people, and there were police everywhere. So is that a question for me, or do you want to start that off?
I'll bring that back up after we go over the basics, because I think that's advanceable. I think most of the people who are going to be meeting up IRL with just people that they, private message or emailed back and forth with, are not going to have that problem. I mean, that was probably... We say that they basically have unlimited money to spend on, like, breaking up dissident groups and stuff, but honestly, there just isn't infinite resources to break up just two people that are just hanging out.
Yeah, I mean, cops are lazy. If you're not doing shit, don't worry about it too much.
Yeah, there's going to be some caveats to that, but for the most part, as long as your group isn't terribly large, and you aren't announcing the meetups, like, if you don't need an announcements page with details and stuff, then you're probably okay. You're not big enough for anybody to worry about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they really should have just kept it underground more than anything else. But in regards to that, I don't really know anything about creating an organization for a more general audience in that way. It's sort of the big question, because, the federal government and whatever, and NGOs and stuff are so good about infiltration and that kind of thing. So really the only thing I could speak to in a manner that is affectatious and useful for the people listening to this would be how to build your own personal social network. And it really just comes to, going to these social organizations that are right at the edge of social acceptability, and then just talking to a lot of people, feeling them out, and then poaching the people that are, to the minimum level of woke to your thing, and creating great relationships with them and talking, and you just gotta be subtle, and people will tell you if you'll just listen. They'll tell you what you think. You just bring up a topic, and
Yeah, you really can just ask questions a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's going to be an amount of comfort building with people before they're going to open up and tell you stuff that actually can get you in a lot of trouble in the modern day.
Yeah.
But, I mean, a lot of times you really can just ask people.
Mm-hmm. And the normal stuff does help. You know, being a higher status person does help. Already having friends in this organization will help. And so, you know, maybe it takes a month, but so what, you know? I don't think it really would take much longer than that if you spend, let's say, a couple meetings a month at an organization like this. Or something else I'd say is, you know, meetup.com. Meetup.com, it depends on where you live, you know. Maybe there aren't these things, but there are Bible study groups on meetup.com. There's, you know, running groups, athletic groups. You can join these things, and, you know, it's a good way perhaps to find women, especially. And what I told Aoli, we were talking before, you know, if you make friends with the guys, especially guys that are in these ideological groups that you are part of, you know, and you really get close to them, that's a great way to get opportunities with women, because they will provide you opportunities. They will invite you to things. And, you know, if most people maybe feel iffy about the women listening to this, okay? If you don't, that's great. But most listening to this probably don't know exactly how to do it, or they're just nervous about it. But you probably feel much more comfortable about effectively dealing with men. So if you can do that first, then, you know, I mean, it's great practice. A lot of the same stuff does apply, the basics. So, you know, do that. And it's a big part of it, actually, you know. I mean, social status, it's weird because...
lots of friends is a great way to do that.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about alpha, beta, you know, delta, gamma, or I don't, but, you know, you guys do, and it's, guess what? If you don't have fucking guy friends, if you're not respected by men, I mean, that is still the hierarchy that women mostly use to determine their value. It's how other men treat a man. And then after that, it's actually secondarily how women treat that man. Although that is still quite important.
So you mentioned this kind of organization. Are there any specific types that you think would be, say, more likely to have people that you could make good friendships with and talk about stuff and just, you know, get along with? I mean, what I've found is that if you go to a mainline Protestant church,
mm-hmm.
you're going to have a certain amount of intimacy if you agree with them on some of the religious stuff, but a lot of the times you're going to have a deep divide over some pretty serious stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe it was my fault for going to a church in a relatively well-to-do area, but let me just say that it's not unusual to find people who think that God is female.
Mm.
And
black transgender Jewish woman.
That's a red flag. That can set you apart from people because, you know, they won't want conflict, so you can't challenge people or they'll throw you out of their group.
Yeah.
That's how I know.
So, I mean, I don't... Yeah, it's a bit harder where you live, definitely, especially with the religious. And understand you have, you know, and you have tried with the religious things. But, you know, I would say if there are organizations that are more hardcore, you know, if you know of any anti-abortion, you know, I'm just throwing this out there, just anti-abortion or you know, just stuff like hardcore kind of groups like that, you know, there's plenty of ideas to find people that really might be more of your type like that, you know, and maybe it's harder to find those groups, but they almost for certain exist. And, you know, I wouldn't advocate going to a mainline church Bible study. I would advocate going to something, you know, I mean, you know what the telltale signs for people being more hardcore would be. You know, action, so activist groups, and just churches that are more hardcore in whatever you're looking for. I don't know exactly what you're looking for, but that's really what I'd have to say. And then joining, you know, like if you're a college, if you're on a college campus, which I know you're not, but people listening to this, you know, go to like the college Republican meeting. Don't get your name on the list. Don't like sign up the year before or something. Just go to the meeting if they allow that.
I might anyway because I'm sure I'm already on some lists.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. If you're already on all the lists, do whatever. But someone like me, Well, I'm probably on a lot of them, but let's not make it easier for them. But you go and then you just talk to all the people, and then you do more of that poaching, and yeah, and then you do all the social stuff. You provide value. You meet up with them. You do stuff. Yeah, and then you keep the relationship going. And for Aspies, and I just have to say this, you can't be waiting for them to make the move all the time. You're gonna have to call them. You're gonna have to do all that shit. You're gonna have to reciprocate. If they call you and they go out with you, you're gonna have to call them and go out with them. They don't expect to do it for you every single time. You're gonna have to do it because that's just what normal people do. And if they
and this is my personal advice to Aspies is there's no shame in keeping a spreadsheet.
No, I mean,
remind you like how often to get back in touch with people, how often to send people texts saying, "Hey, nice weather." I mean, not that, but just something like say, "Hey, hope you're having a good one."
Yeah,
people actually appreciate that a lot.
Yes, and if you have to take notes, if you have to, like, after you talk to someone, if you have to quickly pull out a note card and write some things down, like, oh, they like this, maybe I could talk to them about that. If you have to do that, then do it. Do what you have to do. Don't feel, I'm such a loser. I have to write down what. No, like a lot of salesman type people do that stuff. A lot of really high functioning, really naturally sociable people take notes on people.
Yep. And so I'm thinking it would be a really good idea to systematize this for the more systems-oriented people in this sphere. I think that would be a worthwhile project. And to be honest, a lot of normies have also completely lost a lot of their social graces that were what considered normal back before 7-year-olds with smartphones. So I think it would help them a lot too.
Yeah, the normies are not normal anymore. In fact, I know we owe the sapes and whatever, but they're worse. Keep in mind they are worse now than they were. This is so just keep that in mind. I'm not a big fan of the hating all the people kind of thing, but they are worse. Just keep that in mind.
There's nothing wrong with watching Game of Thrones. I mean,
well,
that kind of hurts to say it. I don't believe it, but I mean, there's truth in it, right?
I don't know anything about it. If you're a high-functioning person, you can do, and I mean, this is kind of why, I guess, well, I'm not going to say anything about that, but if you're a high-functioning person and you talk to people about themselves and you provide them, frankly, with that kind of ego validation that they need, and you're just a genuine person and you, like, have deep connections with them and all that, you can get away with a lot of shit.
Yeah, especially now that, first of all, nobody's got the social graces anymore, right? And everybody's starving for connection.
Yeah.
So you can get away with a lot more, at least in the lower ranges of socializing. Like if you're trying to make deals with Donald Trump, then you're going to have to be a bit better at a plan. But
yeah,
just normal socializing with people, you're going to be fine most of the time. People got a lot of weird quirks. Just don't take it personal. Like if you run into problems, write them down. And if you start noticing patterns, you'll end up fine. But
yep. And
the best book on this is still probably Dale Carnegie. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. In fact, since you bring that up, the core lesson from that book, and you should read it. You really should read it. It's one of those books you should read and not just have a review of. The biggest lesson for me was that people judge you most on how you make them feel. That is, and we should go into that. So very quickly, I'll say, like what we brought up in the Guto health podcast, we kind of, rambled on that. But it was good rambling. But what we said about the mirror neurons, the state, the mindset that you present to people, because of the mirror neurons in their brain, they're going to feel the feeling that you present. So if you are depressed, if you are mopey, if you're this or that, and you put that out there, and it's obvious, it's very obvious, people feel that. They literally feel how you feel, and it feels bad. And guess what? When you make people feel bad, even if they don't understand it, maybe they don't not like you, but they don't want to be around you, unless they are also depressive. And that's, that's why you got to get your energy up. The happiness thing is important. Happiness is important for success. Happiness leads to success. Success doesn't lead to happiness, like the happiness advantage said. But happiness is also key for effective social interaction. It greases the wheels in a way that only energy in general can do better. Like, you can be in a shit mood if your energy is amazing and still do well socially. Yeah, just because you can, just work the room and just work people and shit. But happiness, man, and then social skill comes. Yep. Social skill comes after both of those. Although it's still they're all vital.
And if you need more evidence of that, read the happiness hypothesis and the charisma myth.
Yeah, and what we should mention also that the Les Giblin book, How to Have Confidence and Power with People. That's on Fight Failure. So just look that up. That's also like basic rules that we probably shouldn't talk about here. So that's like the basic stuff. And then there's also Skill with People, which is linked at the bottom of that post. And that'll tell you like the basics of public speaking, the basics of that kind of stuff. So there you go.
Yeah, and the important thing, so if you're looking at those boil downs, like there's not a lot of information on this subject. So it's not, if you're going to become a subject matter expert on any single skill in life, I mean, you could put in 1,000 hours and know all of this. You could memorize everything in those boil downs.
Yeah.
And it would be
definitely
a good investment of time.
Mm-hmm. And if you want deeper,
you could memorize Dale Carnegie's book, and it would be a good investment of time, to be honest. It'd be too much, but it would still be coming out on top.
Yeah. I wouldn't completely. You see, the thing is, you have to have a nuanced understanding at some levels when it ties into things like persuasion and game. But in general, it's great. So, like you may say, oh, never present negativity, right? Because you're how you make people feel, right? But when it comes to something like persuasion, sometimes you want people to feel negative, right? Like, Donald Trump would trash the other person during the debates, tie them to these really negative things, give them these sticky labels that in the future will, self-build because of provided evidence like Lying Ted or Low Energy Jeb. But also there's the element of after he did that, he'd always build himself up of, oh, here's the vision, make America great again. Here's the solution, talk about the plan. Like as much as he tore other people down, he always built up his own plan, always associated himself with positivity. But I just had to say that because negativity is essential for persuasion. It's obviously negativity is frankly more powerful to the brain than positivity. You have a much larger range of negative emotion than you do positive emotion. And if you play to people's fears, that naturally builds more in the brain than playing to their fantasies. Although, they're both powerful, you should do both. But I don't want to get off track here. We're talking about general relationship stuff. I just wanted to say that so you don't take the rules too literally.
Yeah, insofar as you're training yourself in the component of charisma, which is warmth, those things wouldn't apply. And I would recommend practicing like with dogs and babies. Like,
yeah.
To give a positive example of this, I was given a crying baby on Saturday today. What was it? I think it was Thursday night. And it stopped crying immediately because I was just in a good state. Like, it was just staring at my face, soaking it in. And that was just because it was mirroring me. It was at an age where it was developing the ability to do that. And
yeah.
I could just stop crying instantly and it stayed like that for an hour.
Mm-hmm. And, that's...
And you're going to get the same kind of reaction from dogs if you're in a good state. Like, dogs are a great barometer.
Yes, that you said exactly what I was about to say. If animals enjoy being around you, and if you're in the room and the animals come to you, that's the state you should be in, because they can tell. And yeah, that exactly what you just said. That's a good barometer.
Now, as far as what you were saying before, that's true too. If you're trying to present competence, or if you're trying to tell somebody some value, right? Because you got to have the carrot if you're trying to work out a deal or something. But I think it was in the back of the CEO boil down where you said that people who show anger are viewed as more competent.
Yeah.
I think that's where that's from.
That is what is true. And if you have high enough energy, you do just come across as angry. Like right now, I kind of almost sound angry or aggressive. And maybe for some people, they don't like that listening to this. But maybe for other people, they enjoy it. Like this podcast has some energy, you know. It's kind of like, okay, yeah, fuck, we're going to fucking do something, motherfucker. And you know, that it's like that drivenness is just a part of people who get shit done. It's part of people who, you know, want to get shit done at least. And yeah, it is a component of competency, or at least people think so. And I think, yeah, it is, because if you have enough energy, you will just naturally come across as aggressive unless you're Jack Dorsey or a faggot. Well, that's the same thing. Jack Dorsey is a faggot.
Should I go off on a tangent on that, or
no? Let's not. I can say something unless you want to say something about the other things we were just talking about.
Let's keep going.
Okay. So, you know, the traditional advice is, and it's from those books. It's from Dale Carnegie. It's you know, you ask questions to people. Like I'd sit here, I'd ask aioli questions, and that's good. You know, you ask people about their life and questions and stuff. But that's not all there is to it. You make statements and observations. You throw out an opinion, and you know, that's part of building depth.
You can't just extract information out of people. They don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, interview mode with girls. Like, ask maybe 4 questions max, and then just throw something out. Just like, you know, I really don't like being here, to be honest. This place is it's just not so fun, you know? I don't know. Whatever you'd say, and then she'd be like, just whatever she says. Maybe she agrees, maybe she disagrees. And you just have something to talk about. You don't just ask questions. Basically, and this is so important. It's a tremendous fucking rule. It took me so long to realize this, and it's general, so you're going to have to think about it yourself. Or, Aola, you could systemize this, but the systemization would end up being a lot of the same rules in other places. I'm ranting, but here it is. Basically, copy how you talk to your friends, and then do it with the stranger that you want to be friends with. Now, that doesn't mean literally talking about the same stuff and things like that, but just the style. When you're with friends, you make statements. When you're with friends, you do this and that and all these other things. If you do that same thing to the stranger, you know, it's just part of the fucking thing, you know? If you're just asking questions, you sound like a retard.
It's gonna make you comfortable.
Yeah. And go deep. You want to build depth, you know? You want to, and maybe it's tricky. It's not tricky for me, but maybe it's tricky for people with Asperger's to know when it's time to go deeper. But you know, maybe that's hard, but you got to master that, and then go deeper. You got to build depth with people. You got to get them talking about like what they really want out of life. You got to get people talking about, you know, hopes and dreams and likes, that kind of stuff.
My inclination on that is to say that it comes sooner than you would expect, but you don't want to go straight into that.
Yeah.
So you don't want to ask what somebody's hopes and dreams are, like right off the top, or they're going to be like, "What are you, from the government? What's your game here?" But if you've been talking for a couple minutes, then
yeah,
I don't think it usually hurts.
No,
like if you got a conversation going, you're past the opening bit, they haven't already excused themselves, so they're showing that they're open to talk. I think it's okay to go deep.
Right. And this is a great advantage of being a high-performance person, a high-energy person, a high-status person, is that you are naturally so locked into your goals, and people notice that, and so they ask you, like, oh, so what's your deal? What are you doing? You know, you seem like a guy who kind of knows what he's doing. You got things figured out, right? And then you can talk about yourself for a little bit, less than maybe you'd want to. I kind of break this. I know I ramble. And that's fine, a little bit. But then you have the excuse, because you talked about you and your deep, oh, this is what I'm going to do kind of stuff. You then have the excuse to ask them. And they love that.
So I haven't got this ironed out completely, but would you say it's probably a good idea to get the conversation going, then offer, I don't know, so you ask a couple of questions, you go deep, then you go into your thing, and then you back off a little bit there, you start trying to get them to open up about, So what do you think about life, huh? Like, what's all it for?
Well, I'd say that is way too general of a question. You want to tailor it to the specific.
Shut people down.
Yeah, that would. Okay, so, give me a situation, or I could think up one if you want.
All right. Let's say I don't know. I'm talking to somebody. We just ran into each other at the parking lot of the grocery store. And I don't know. I asked them about something that they bought, or like, is that car any good? I was thinking about getting it. Just something weird like that. And it turns out they're friendly, so you start talking.
Okay.
So, would you ask them? I guess you wouldn't ask them their philosophy of life, because most people don't spend a lot of time thinking about that. But you might ask them, does it feel like people aren't as connected as they used to be with all the phones and stuff? That'd probably be a good one.
Well, I mean, personally, that's like the ultimate hard situation for me, because of course there's not much, situational stuff you can attach to. Like if you are at I wouldn't be at a club, but a club, you could talk about, how many times you come here? Oh, I went here with my friends. This is, blah, blah, blah. At a grocery store, fuck, that is a hard one.
I don't do a lot of stuff.
That is a hard one, bro. Outside, and you said in the parking lot, that is, I would never approach someone in the parking lot and talk to them, because there's just that mental bias of people, at least around here, people approaching you in a parking lot, that's not good news, And so you'd have to overcome that. And so why add another barrier, It's just weird. Like, just approaching someone in a parking lot, at least around here, is just weird. But if you're in the store, you could, say, oh, so what are you cooking tonight? And then they'd say something, it's like, oh, yeah, I love that, blah, blah, blah. This is something I would do with that. It always surprises me so much that I come in here and they don't have blah, 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 or just shit like that. And then they'll say something, they'll probably at this point throw out some bait that you could ask them about, like, oh, well, how long you been living around here? And, just go from there and then build off of what they respond, and then make a statement, a more deep statement. Again, completely depends on, what they say. And, shit, that's it.
The best situational things I've ever used is just asking for advice.
That's good. That is good advice. Asking for advice too, yeah. How would I cook this? You're in the store. You're in the store and you pick up a weird piece of meat. Like I don't know, and then you're like, excuse me, but you look like the kind of person, who cooks a lot more than I do. Well, I don't know if you'd say that, but you look like a person who knows what they're doing. Or just ask them. Maybe you don't even need to say that. You just say, well, hey, I don't want to bother you, but, I want to cook something unusual tonight. I'm bored of the usual. And do you know how to cook this? Do you have any advice? And maybe they'll say something about it. But you see, that kind of thing depends entirely on your state. Like, you'd have to be in a good mood. You'd have to be happy. You'd have to... Because if you were like, okay, let's say you try this and you have no smile at all, you're depressed, you look like you got hit in the face with a shovel. Hey, you know how to cook this? I mean, I've been cooking the same thing and I just don't know how to... And you see, now you sound like a faggot. And they're like, oh, maybe you should ask one of the employees or buy some seasoning. And then they walk away. So,
Yeah, because who wants to be around you?
Yeah.
You bring the bad feels. Ain't nobody got time.
Mm-hmm.
So you wanna end positive, or you want to just end? We got
6 minutes. We got 6 minutes, but honestly, we can probably go longer because my cigar has like 15 minutes. And so that's the perfect kind of excuse I need to say to them,
Nah, I don't want to push it and get interrupted.
Well, I'm going to finish my cigar, though. So if you want to keep talking,
okay.
You can. Like, I don't stop. There is no stopping.
Like Rothschild.
Smoking my Rothschild cigar. I will.
Not be interrupted.
You know what? I'll very quickly call my dad and tell him, hey, my cigar, and then I'll call you back, okay?
Alright.
Alright, well, it just so happened that the food will be ready in 10 to 15 minutes anyway, so everything is just perfect, so we can keep going.
Sweet.
Yeah.
You want to hit into the financial stuff, or you want to leave that off? No, that's too off topic.
I'd love to talk financial, and you know, sure. But whatever you want to talk about.
Is that going to turn into a more than 10-minute short topic?
Actually, for my financial advice, no, it's really simple. In fact, we could do it in 2 minutes.
Sweet, I bet.
Okay, just gotta pull it up. You can give your advice right now.
So your first bullet point is, well, it should have been higher up here. It was get out of debt as soon as possible. For more information on that, I don't know if you've covered that much on your try failure, but
no.
You can follow Dave Ramsey for that. He's pretty much the go-to guy on that subject. And he's also got a lot of good basic bitch, don't do this sort of advice.
Yeah.
I think it's Total Money Makeover. I'm not finished with that one, but it's got a lot of stuff in there. Surprisingly nuanced take on whether or not you should invest in gold.
Okay.
Which he doesn't take a woke perspective on it, but he says, you know, it has poor long-term returns, so it's not something you should invest in as like. First of all, it's definitely not a panacea. Like it's generally not going to make you rich. All right, and you're going to get better with. You'd be better off going into like low yield bonds or something if you're trying to make money off it. Now that said, I would still say like if you're trying to accumulate generational wealth, you can't go wrong putting your money into gold. In terms, it's going to keep its value over time, right? That's the main thing about it is like it's not a commodity like bullets or booze or something that you're going to want in an apocalypse. But as far as just if you can't put your money into land, where you're worried like the land will get taken away from you, it's harder to take away gold.
Yeah.
So it's a good way to pass wealth down if you're thinking like 3 generations from now.
Mm-hmm. I will quickly.
If you're in a position where you can do that.
I'll quickly say to that, I have this concept that is when you read the Guto, you'll see it's mentioned very briefly because you are supposed to be able to kind of figure it out on your own because I can't really get into some of the implications. But let's call it physical assets investing, okay? So you buy things with your money and people don't know you have those things, right? And so maybe this is gold, maybe I'd use things maybe even more value holding and useful. And then you hide those fucking things. And then guess what? If you are in a situation of financial ruin, let's say you get divorced or something like that, then now you have this windfall that no one knows about. And maybe I get it. It's not so nice to talk about those kind of things. But I'll just say that, and you can, figure out the other implications on your own and what to do, okay? I don't need to talk about that.
How do I virtue signal about my hidden wealth if it's hidden? Like, how do I post pictures on Instagram of my gold-plated rifle, my gold-plated AK-47?
Yeah. I mean, this is a survival thing.
And my grills.
I know.
Like, most of my wealth goes into my feet.
You just gotta stop the status signaling, because otherwise, if you were high level and you didn't, obviously, I have plenty of advice for people depending on what they want. I don't think it applies to the people listening to this. But yeah, I mean, some of the people, maybe they do want that really, really big time, whatever, and maybe they are into a kind of woman that, frankly, I wouldn't recommend. And then, you know, I'd say you get the prenup, you film them getting the prenup so that they cannot say they were forced into it. And then you still do the physical assets investing, and you still do all, you know, maybe the other trickery stuff that, you know, frankly is kind of maybe illegal, and I don't advocate illegal things, but maybe, you know, you can make your own decisions. You're a logical person. You know.
And if you're rich enough to worry about gold diggers, just, you know, have a place in Mexico that you got planned out.
Yep. So now I'll get into the actual advice. And there is a post on Fight Failure, The Richest Man in Babylon, which covers the most basic stuff. And it's not worth covering here. It's all covered in this stuff. So you want to remain financially independent. It doesn't matter if you make millions, if you spend it all, dumbass. Pretty obvious, but a lot of people, you know, doesn't matter how much they make, they raise their spending to that level, and you just cannot do that. So save and invest as much as possible. Stop buying status. Stop trying to beat the market. Stop gambling with your money. Unless you are a multimillionaire and can afford the downside, and realize that it's gambling. Realize that there's, you know, you're likely, maybe you make it big, but most likely you lose the money. So for most of the people listening to this, you do not want to listen to the people who are talking about the high-risk stuff. You know, Bitcoin was an exception, and I don't know enough about it now. I wish I'd done it when I heard about it in like 2012. I can't imagine it's worth it now, but maybe it is. I don't know. I wouldn't. I'm not going to. But whatever. I don't know enough about that. I'm not going to spend the time to learn about that. I just have too much on my plate. If you're in debt, pay it off as quickly as possible. And you got to start investing right now, especially with the stuff I'm about to talk about. It's a time thing more than anything else. Do you have anything to say about that?
No, I think you covered it.
Okay. So before you invest in the money-making stuff, you have to realize that the actual most important thing to invest in is you and your skills. Nobody can take your skills from you. They're always a way to make money, unless they're obsolete skills, of course. And so that's the first thing you should invest in. And getting rid of bottlenecks. Maybe there is a product or something you can invest in that does make your life, makes things quicker, saves you time, makes you make more money. You know, if you're a billionaire...
I'd like to stop you there, because this is a big pitfall for a lot of people in the middle class, is to confuse the difference between an investment and virtue signaling.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people will, like, buy the truck, which will make them look more important to other guys that they're, you know, stupid job, where they're just trying to look good, right? That's not an investment.
That's not. Yeah, absolutely not. It has to be, if you're a billionaire, buying a private jet it's absolutely genius. It pays itself off 1,000 times. You're able to make many more trips. You save time. You can take illegal drugs onto the plane and smoke them. Whatever. All
That's
that.
also not an investment.
That's not. Don't do that. That was a joke. Don't smoke the illegal drugs in your plane. Although you would get away with it. But so 99% of people don't beat the market. It's gambling. It's straight up gambling. So I am a big proponent of... I know a lot about real estate. There's a lot of real estate in this. We don't have time to get into that. And frankly, most of the people listening to this don't have the time to do the real estate. That's the big thing. You can make a ton of money. The rules are pretty simple. But it is very time intensive. It does require being great at sales, great at energy, and great at communication. You know, you got to be prepared to be on the phone all the time. You got to look at like 1,000 deals to get the one you want. But other than that, the math is really simple. It's, you know, anyway, because of that and because of my specific life goals, I can't do the real estate. There's just not enough time. If I took the time that was put into the real estate and put it into my future career, I'd make more money just from putting that time into the future career stuff, okay? So that's the calculus there.
If you're going to do the grind, you're going to have better odds probably just going through education.
Yeah. But some of the people listening to this, maybe you can buy a unit maybe the deal does work out and you can flip it, you know, but I'm not gonna say anything about that. That's up to you. You gotta, whatever, but I'm gonna tell you about the foolproof, basically foolproof. It's the index funds, okay? Because I would never buy normal stocks. Like I said, it's gambling. You know, even blue chip, I wouldn't really buy. Because look, the market, if you dollar cost average, if you put a set amount of money into the market, let's say every month, then even if the market is down, you know, it's going to go back up and all that, you will average out making more money. You just will. As long as...
So what's the typical return on an index fund?
7%. So the 7%...
So is that above and beyond inflation?
That's yes, 7% per year. But you gotta... The big thing with this is that you gotta factor in the trading cost. Now, I don't have it... I do have it somewhere in this document, but I have a cigar and a phone in my hand, so I can't scroll down exactly, but I think... Whatever, there's a price for, you know, trading. There's the trading price. And so you want to put in a large amount at a time. And of course, don't be a dumb shit. Don't do it when the market is like obviously down, although it really wouldn't matter that much, but just don't, you know, save up more money, you know, because the trading cost. And so let's say 1,000 sort of like the minimum you'd want to put in at one time, because for every $100, you'll get a $7 return per year. So, you know, that is $63 a year for that $100 put into a Vanguard. You know, and you want the ones that are tracking the S&P 500 and the Dow in particular. And the best part about this is you save so much fucking time. I mean, this doesn't require any research, doesn't require any tracking. You don't have to know shit. The stock, I'll even give you the name of the one you really want. It's called, the symbol number is VOO. If you just bought that, you put your money in that, you know, and then, I mean, look, if you put $1 million in, then in 10 years, you have $1,700,000. That's pretty good, right? Isn't that pretty good for investing instead of keeping it in the bank? I think that's pretty good. So it's
I got to correct you there. You have almost doubled your money at that point. So it's going to be $1.9 million, $1.95 or something like that.
Really? Oh, well.
Yeah, you know, rule of 72. So this is just an awesome thing to know.
Okay.
Is you can, if you take the interest, you divide 72 by that number. So 72 divided by 7. That tells you the number of years it's going to take for your investment to double.
All right. Well, that's even better.
Yep.
And I mean, you can, let's say with $1 million in real estate, and this is actual sort of number. So like for every $100,000, which is let's say every unit is $100,000, which is pretty standard. Okay. So $100,000 unit, you can expect a $1,000 per month for rent, and the normal running costs of a unit complex is around 50%. So let's say you make $500 per unit. You know, I mean, you can do the math on this. You will make, obviously, especially if you take all the money you make and reinvest it, you can make more. But factor in the amount of time, factor in the amount of risk, factor in
so much headache.
Yeah, I mean, really that is. It's just like, how much headache do you want? You know, if your only goal in life...
It's in a saturated market. You're going to have to deal with tenants.
Yeah.
We're not talking about high-functioning people, where there wouldn't be in apartments.
You want to hire a company. And the big thing is, and I'll just say about real estate investing, is you want high units. You only buy small units to flip. And this is just how the high-level people think. I know someone like Dave Ramsey, I think they're dead wrong about this, because the people who really make money... Because, look, frankly, I know a lot of these people, and I'll just say this right now, so that the people who maybe are invested in, who are interested in real estate and really are, you know, they really do want the super money, and that's like their value in life. Whatever, I'm not into that. I want enough. I want a pretty good amount, to be frank, but it's for the mission. But if that's your goal, I'll just tell you right now what you fucking do. You get your partners, you do $2 million plus deal, you get the 16 plus unit bare minimum, That way, when the tenants move out, when some tenants move out, you're always in positive cash flow. Okay? Then you're able to pay off the bank, you're able to keep the whole thing going. And then, once you build up enough of a portfolio and shit, you become what's known as a real estate syndicator. Okay? If you want to make a lot of money, you fucking take notes now, if that's your goal in life. And then what you do is you become a real estate syndicator, and then you make the deals with the syndication so that you are able to leverage the money of the people that invest in you that you are using to buy multi-unit complexes. You make it so that you're able to invest all of that into future deals. I get it's a shell game. So what you're doing is you're leveraging the assets you have, you know, with the borrowed money of these other people, and then you're just buying up units like crazy. That's it. You know, of course that's immoral in a sense, but I can tell you there's no other really guaranteed way to become a billionaire. That is, you straight up grind that for fucking 2 decades. And Grant Cardone has been doing that for 10 years. He has a $700 million portfolio. That was last year. I think it's closer to 900 now. Within 2 decades, he will be a multi-billionaire. And, you know, I got to say that if that's what you're interested in, you should consider that. Now, that's really high level. So, depends on your morals. I don't condone it. But there you go. That is really great information. I like to provide value. Do with that advice as you will. Figure out the details, talk to your lawyer, whatever.
All right. And I didn't entirely understand it. That was Melon Magic at the graduate level. So
that right there was what you call Melon Magic. And it is. I wouldn't do it. You know, I wouldn't do it, obviously, because you get, like, let's say it fucks up, right? Like, you go under, the market crashes, whatever. You sell all this stuff off, all the people who invested in you lose pretty much everything, right? And then you're still worth, you know, fucking like 300 mil straight cash. You know, that's what you're kind of dealing with there.
All right. I'm still not understanding. I think we need to... I mean, I'm not going to do that either. I think
my
goals for finance are less ambitious, personally.
Yeah.
But, you know, if any of you out there become billionaires, just remember, yeah, you heard it here first.
And send me some of that fucking money. And I'll do good things with it.
Yeah, me too. Like, I mean, I think it's good for people to be happy, right? So I was thinking hookers and blow. No, we would do charity.
Yeah. Okay, so let's, I just have a couple more minutes. We just have a couple more minutes. So I will very quickly just run through this. I know I'm going to, you know, whatever, but just to get it out there, get it said, you must have a budget and stick to it. You must have some leeway money in the budget. You got to stop all your fucking habits that waste money. Every dollar you spend today is at least $5 wasted in the future. Conceptualize it like that. So even little sums do matter. You don't want to, like, waste time to save money. You don't want to be, you know, take this too far, obviously. But hey, don't change your oil. Don't do stupid shit like that. Use that time more wisely. But, you know, don't be a whatever. Don't be a dumb shit. Don't mow your own lawn if you make, you know, enough money to pay someone else to do it and the time is better. Okay? So quickly, advice for buying a car. Never buy a fucking new car. That's the dumbest shit you could ever do. It's truly financially ruining. So many people do that. Don't buy a new car. Buy a used car. Get it from a private party, not a dealership. Get the Carfax. You know, get it. Go on Auto Trader. Use kbb.com to find out the true value of the car. Get the car price $1,500 below the value, and offer $500 below that. Okay, and then if you're not mechanically inclined, you pay a mechanic like $100, check the tires, check the brakes, whatever, and, you know, there, you get the car. Once you buy the car, you put it on Auto Trader the same day. You price it $250 below its value. You drive it until it sells, and then you'll usually make $500 to $1,500. You'll usually take 3 to 6 months to sell. and then you're basically driving for free from the money you made from that profit. Now, again, if that's not worth your time to do that, you can just buy the car you want that runs a little bit better, but still don't get it. Get it like under 4 years, under 60,000 miles. Try to get one that still has a factory warranty. Still don't buy it from a dealer. Still run a salvage title, all that. But then you get one, like if the time's not worth it for you to do all that trading stuff, you still just don't buy one new and just, get the savings from that. Really simple.
All right. So let's end with some of the best advice ever, which is push-ups and air squats at your standing desk while you're waiting for commands to run. It's far better. Plus, you can see over the cue balls and shoot it faster.
You gotta do that with bone flour. But that is a hilarious quote. I can't even make that out, so I doubt the people listening to this can make that out. But that is legendary. Okay, well, is there anything else you want to say real quick?
Nah, I'm hungry.
Yeah, I'm hungry too. All right, I think this is probably the most value I've certainly put into a podcast in like an hour. So pretty great. I hope the people listening to this had a great time. Within the month, I'll be putting out my Gucho on fightfailure.com. And, I really, really encourage you to listen or to read it and implement it. It'll all be laid out there. I don't need to talk about it, but really, really read it and, fucking do with your life what you've always wanted to do. All right? I'll talk to you sometime, Aioli. I guess next week.
Yeah, more than likely.
All right. See ya.
Yeah, see ya.